And I think that sums it up. Butch Raute. A three-sport star in football, basketball, and baseball. In a great football tie against a heavily favored Waltham team, Butch punted for 67 yards in the game and returned a punt for 58 yards and a touchdown in the same game. Suburban League All-Star in basketball, MVP of the basketball team, 700 career points, an outstanding center fielder in baseball, the Hoyt Thurber Award as the school's outstanding male athlete, but more, since leaving high school, a commitment to service and passing on his athletic experience to young people. In Pop Warner, in Little League, in youth basketball, and as a member of the Pop Warner Board of Directors, the Hall of Fame salutes Butch Raute.
Thank you. I'd like to thank Bob and the committee. It's a great honor, something I'll take with me for the rest of my life. And it's a great night. Great turnout. Appreciate everyone coming. Before I say a few words, and it will be brief, Peter Santola told me he'd drag me off the podium if I lasted more than 2 minutes. I'd like to introduce my personal Hall of Fame. My mother, Lillian. My wife, Linda, and my sons, Jeff and Steve. When I got the call from Sandra Hoffman that I had been elected this year, I naturally sat back and reflected on the events that brought me to this point. And I went over from the youth activities right through high school, all the games, and it was funny that the games weren't the important thing. Oh, there were a handful of games that stood out. I could tell you every play that took place, but it were the people that impressed me the most of those years. I was lucky enough through the Youth Act, Little League, Pop Warner, right through high school to have wonderful coaches, good friends and teammates, and I'd like to acknowledge a few of them. I really consider this a team award, and it started probably in Pop Warner with a couple of great coaches, Dick Johnson and Dick Garino. I'd like to acknowledge them. And then when I got to the West Junior High, if you went to the West Junior High from probably 1955 to 1980 and you mentioned the coach, you didn't need a last name, Coach Bob Dupree, who was very instrumental. And then also at the West Junior High, I had him for homeroom in the 7th grade, and forget being, in those days you used the word cool, the coolest teacher I knew, he was the coolest person at that time, Dick Nigerian, who also happened to be a pretty good basketball coach. And then I continued right through high school with Jack Allen, Tom McGovern, who's here tonight and happens to be his birthday, Dick Berardino, and a person that wasn't a coach but was always there with an encouraging word, whether you won, lost the game, the trainer for all the years at the high school, Mr. Nick Pappas. And then last, I'd like to acknowledge some of my teammates there's not a touchdown that's scored, that there isn't a block thrown or a basket that you make, that there isn't an assist to it. You don't get here without the help of good teammates and people like, well, I'd like to tell you a story about Ricky Grant. Ricky Grant was, he was an idol in Little League. I mean, he was, everyone talked about him, and he was always a couple of years older than me. When I got to the high school as a sophomore, I was lucky enough, and I made the basketball team, and Coach Allen told me I was going to start. And after a couple of games, I guess I shot a little more than I should have, And Ricky Grant took me aside and said, hey kid, we'll get along fine if you remember that the seniors shoot and the sophomores pass the ball. And Rick, we always did. But there were other teammates, Alan Gallagher, Dave Hoffman, who most of you people know, Paul McManus, Rich Munkowitz. I hate to leave people out, but I just had to mention some of these people. They were very instrumental in my years up there, and I appreciated all of them.